Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over a history of units utilizing the 7 base units of SI. So a lot of this is out of this notebook. It's been slightly reformulated. So as we can see here, yes, I enjoy saying click. Basically, before we had all our fancy detectors that go click and everything, we human beings, we were very industrious and everything. So let's say you need to build something. You need a reference if you want things to kind of be about the same. So originally, a unit of length, we used the cubit, which is basically the length of the forearm to your fingers. Because once you happen to be a grown adult, for the most part, probably not going to change that much, or at least a noticeable amount. So if you're working on a farm, you're building a structure or something using your own physical labor, your personal cubit is probably a decent unit of measure. It's a rough standard. Now, one of the problems you run into is, well, human beings, we're all more similar than we are different, but we are all different. So we need to keep that in, or take that, so to speak, into consideration. And while they would do different cubits, like sometimes you'd have the royal cubit and stuff, so you would take the leader's forearm and stuff, and then you would develop a rod and everything. The problem is, once you had a new reagent, that would change. So one of the driving factors, I would love to say it was simply scientific curiosity and everything, but full disclosure, it was primarily driven by commerce, at least back in the day, to have a standard for weights and measures. Because, well, if you're going to trade, you want to make sure you're not getting ripped off and everything. It's like, well, how much grain or barley for this corn, flour? It's like, all right, maybe you have some silver, I have a goat. Let's exchange. What is the proper medium? Unless you have a way to really quantify it in a generalized, accepted standard, it's going to be very difficult. So, yes, and then we have some of the old references as well, such as hands for horses, feet for football, mod 3, of course, yards. But as human beings continue to spread, interact, barter, trade, we need a common set of standards and measures. So we developed the metric system, and eventually SI became a subset of that. So as we can see here from the little fancy diagram we made, let's make this a little bit small. Okay. So as we can see here, we have the 7 base SI units: seconds, meters, kilograms, Kelvin, candela, moles, and amperes. And as we can see, I had actually taken this from, I think Dugan had sent me Dugan of the Wolfram Institute sent me a diagram of SI during the summer school. And I remember on NIST's website, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, they had a nice little color wheel for navigating the website. So I'm like, well, let's recreate that. I attempted to originally do it with code. It did not work. So I literally just hacked this together in Keynote, full disclosure. But I wanted to set up in this way because it literally seems like one of those maps you would see in a movie of somebody that everyone thinks is crazy. Maybe they are or aren't, but they have all these pieces of strings and lines going around. So you can just kind of see how everything is together there. So don't worry. I'm not expecting folks to understand everything that's going on here, but if one would like to spend some time looking at it, you have all the listing of everything here, all the different units. In there, we have the abbreviation, so it's not going to take up too much space there. And then it has the physical dimensions here, okay? And solid lines indicate multiplication between things. Dashed lines indicate division, okay? And then you'll have a couple of gray things which are representing dimensionless units. The dimensionless units here are radians and then steradians. So a radian is a unit of angle, okay? Two dimensions. And then a steradian is a three-dimensional form of angle. So those are dimensionless. Basically, there's no physical representation. Now, I'm not saying they aren't useful, but essentially, these are factors that we use primarily for the candela here. The candela, like oh, the enemy. No, I'm just playing. If you're selling candles, it's probably a useful thing to have. But we're going to make an argument later why you don't need to necessarily have it as a base unit. One of the other things to notice here is we have seconds and amperes, and we're going to get into it because this is a big C here, not a little c for the speed of light. This is representative of coulombs. And I'm going to make the argument that we should perhaps include coulombs of electric charge rather than amperes of electric current. And there's going to be a reason why, which if y'all stay tuned long enough, we will get to. Okay. As you can see, it kind of makes sense here. All right, you get two things of meters, you get meters squared, you get three things here. It's probably kind of redundant. You get meters cubed, and you got meters go into the joule, which is the SI unit of energy. It's also got kilograms, and does that have the seconds there? Oh my God, did I do that wrong? Joules has me. Oh, because it's going from newtons, which is going from there and there. Okay. So we've got acceleration, meters divided by seconds there. That leads to newtons. And then newtons is mass, a length, divided by time squared. You add an extra dimension of meters, and then you get energy, aka mass times speed squared. Okay. Fantastic. We're not going to belabor the point because otherwise this will take forever. Okay. So one of the things that's useful about the metric system is because it happens to use certain prefixes and stuff. As we can see, we can express large and small magnitudes, either using deca, hecto, kilo, etc., to express tens, hundreds, and thousands, and deci, centi, milli to express tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. The original way I learned about kilo, mega, and giga was actually from Final Fantasy VII, because of the Bahamut did Mega Flare. Neo Bahamut did Giga Flare, and then Bahamut Zero did Terra Flare. So I learned from video games those exponential powers, or at least those ones. It's also very useful because it allows us to use base 10. So that makes counting a heck of a lot easier. So as we can see here, we have a little manipulate function. And one of the interesting things, and we'll get to, but a quick note is, coincidentally, the kilogram was initially based on the maximal density of water, which is about 4 degrees Celsius, like 3.98 degrees Celsius, to be a bit more precise, which was equated to 1 gram per cubic centimeter. And then 1,000ths of those grams would give us the kilogram. At least initially, the kilogram was called the grave. Probably not the greatest name, but hey, French Revolution, it is what it is. So initially, it ended up being 1 cubic centimeter of water was 1 gram. And the conventional density of water is still at that. Now it's standard atmospheric pressure. It's a little bit under there, but again, that's more of a Earth-based thing. But I digress. So let's say you had 1 gram. Okay. So we have a single gram. We can do the little counting blocks thing that we learned back in elementary school. So we can go, we got 1 gram, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So we now have a column of 10. And then we got 10, we go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Great. We have, at least back when it was defined, we would now have 100 grams. But the kilogram has kilo. That means it's 1,000. So that means we're going to need 10 of these layers. So we've got 100 grams, 200 grams, 300 grams, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. We've achieved the kilogram by historical measure. Cool. All right. Let's go into some of the actual history here as I wet my whistle with a wee bit of coffee. All right. So the second itself, it was based, I'm not going to read through all of this. You can go through here. It's included for those that haven't gone through this. A lot of this is just kind of out of my summer school project, copy and paste with a little bit of tweaks and everything.